Gonzaga Nation SI on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network, one of the best Zags in recent memory, one of the greatest shooters of Gonzaga history, joins us today, Kyle Wiltjer. Kyle, how's it going?
Man, I'm good. I appreciate you having me on. I thought you were describing yourself for a second.
Well, when I said recent memory, I don't think I fall into that category because it's been quite a while since I played. You're still playing. You're playing at a really high level right now. Tell us what is the next steps in your pro career.
Yeah, for me, just taking it 1 year at a time. Last season, I played in Spain in the ACB. It was a great level. Played in European competition, was the Champions League, and we were the champions there. So I'm just sifting through free agency. It's crazy because every time I get home, I tell my trainer that this is the biggest off season. So as you know, when you're in the grind of playing, the grind doesn't stop, and you just try to thug out 1 year at a time.
The grind of the off season is an interesting one for current pros. The social media aspect has definitely changed since I've played. I know over the last couple summers, you've spent a lot of time at the Portland Pro-Am, which has been kind of had a resurgence. The Seattle crossover league that Jamal Crawford runs has had a lot of eyes on it over the last couple of weeks. What does your typical summer look like, and how do you play Pro-Ams?
Yeah, I mean, if I just it's kind of a fluid situation. I'm always just home, spending time with the family. My Monday through Friday, I'm always gym regardless. So I'm doing my, weight room routine. I'm getting my shots up, but me and my trainer just we're fluid. So if there's pro-am games, if there's pickup stuff like that, I'm a huge advocate of just playing as much as possible, because that's the best way to get in shape for the next season. And so I've been just trying to hoop. And like you said, I've been trying to support the Portland Pro-Am as much as I can, just because I'm a Portland guy, and it's just fun getting everyone together, and you know how it is, just running into familiar faces and stuff like that. So for me, it's fun being home, but it's fun getting to play and get to see these little leagues pop up.
So you mentioned Portland guy. I didn't grow up in Portland. I was born in Portland, grew up in Vancouver, which I moved to when I was in second grade. There's been some underrated, really good players out of the Portland area. I would throw yourself in the mix there, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me your 5 guys to start a franchise with from the Portland area. I've got 5 written on my list right here. I want to hear your 5.
Yeah. So are you included in the list? Is the question?
I didn't include myself because there's 2 other point guards that I have to put above me.
I mean, you got to start with. I just saw Mighty Mouse the other day, Damon Stoudemire. He's on there. I'm just going with recent memory guys. So you got to put Kevin Love. Put him at the center. You got one of my favorite players in high school was looking up to Kyle Singler. He was from the Medford area. Then you got Terrence Ross, who's niched out a great career in the NBA. So it's at 4, and I gotta start on the squad as well. So I'm number 5 on there.
Some really good names there. I'll be honest. Terrence Ross was a guest on one of my podcasts a few months back. He should be on the list, but then you have to start leaving off guys like AC Green, Terrell Brandon.
See, I'm not in the OG category yet, so I didn't get to see their games like face to face. But man, there's been a lot of guys like you're saying that have come through the Portland area.
Yeah, Ime Udoka's one. Here's an under the radar guy, and constant listeners to my podcast will know this name, Josh Hall. Have you had a chance to play with Josh Hall since?
I know Josh.
Florida.
I know Josh very well. He's a hell of a player. He's that guy you want on your team 10 out of 10 times. He's tough. I mean, that's Steve's guy, right? Steve Blake's guy.
Yeah. Steve Blake are really close friends now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So let's go to your kind of upbringing with the game of basketball. I understand your dad played at a high level. He represented the Canadian national team. Was he one of your first influences in the game of basketball before you got to Jet and played for a really good high school coach in Gene Potter?
Yeah, for sure. Growing up, he was always, having me in the gym, obviously around the house, seeing all his Canada basketball memorabilia, and he kind of got me in that pipeline. So he was definitely, all the way until was me those old school teaching me those old school. Sorry about that. You there?
Yeah.
Lost you here. Hold on. There you are. So anyways, yeah, so he coached me all the way till high school. And then once I got to high school, kind of AAU basketball took over, and obviously the Jesuit.
So my first experience as a color analyst on the broadcasting side was your state title your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to go back and grade myself as a broadcaster. I know you've made comments recently about trying your hand at broadcasting because Kentucky and Gonzaga are going to play, and we'll get into Kentucky days in a little bit. But what are your thoughts about what you want to do when you're done playing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple things in the works. I've trying to do some real estate development, so that's kind of a side hustle I'm doing. I'm actively working on my Oregon real estate license, so that's something I'll do to make some money on the side. But I've been a Nike guy at heart my whole life. Commentating, just because I love the game of basketball, is always something that's intrigued me. I've looked up to guys like yourself, just being able to be in the game still, even though you're retired, you're still around the game every day. So yeah, when I saw Kentucky play Gonzaga, it was just one of those things. I just, how prevalent social media is. You throw something out there, everyone runs wild with it. So it actually led to some opportunities for me off the court. So one of those is I'm going to try to commentate some, FIBA international games. And because I've obviously been playing the last 6 years overseas, so I got a lot of expertise, and I have a lot of connections over there. So I definitely want to give it a shot and kind of get my feet wet with it. And then I would love to, I feel like I provide some valuable insight on, because I'm a unique case where I played for both programs.
You are a unique case. I mean, I would imagine if there was a UW Gonzaga game that was, looking for a broadcaster outside of somebody's contracted, there would be fans who would like me or dislike me. Where would you think you fall in with the Kentucky fans as well as the Gonzaga fans if you were to call that game?
I think there's a handful of people that will still love me, but there'll definitely be some haters out there, because I feel like I would definitely be that guy that'd be like, oh, he's just, sucking up to both sides. But, to be honest, I'm not even trying to be politically correct. It's just, I have love for both programs. It's not like I just spent a couple months on Kentucky's campus. I spent 2 years there. Then I transferred to Gonzaga and spent 3 seasons there. So I have a piece of my heart with both programs. I just want to see the success of both. I can't really say who I'd want to win, but I definitely being a Zag most recently, I definitely have some more recent memories there.
So have you called either Coach Cal or Coach Few, or sent him a text message and say, hey, put in a good word to at least have me have a 4-minute segment wherever you're going to be playing in Europe or overseas next year? So let's go back to your time at Kentucky. Obviously, Coach Calipari, I don't know him the way you did because I didn't play for him, but we've talked on a couple occasions. He recruits unbelievably high, talented guys, and then he finds a way to put them together and have a lot of success in a hurry. You won a national title there. What was your experience with Coach Cal and then at Kentucky?
I had nothing but positive experience from there. It was one of those atmospheres that I chose to go to initially. Gonzaga was on my radar in high school as well, but when I went to Kentucky, it was I just wanted to. I saw myself trying to get to the NBA, and I felt like if I couldn't play and get any minutes at Kentucky, then I didn't belong in the NBA. So I went there. It's a really strongly competitive atmosphere. You're playing against high level guys every single day. And that was the toughest part, is like, if you're having an off night or you're not playing well, it's the next guy up. So for me, that was a huge reason I chose to move schools to Gonzaga, is I wanted that pressure on my shoulders where, hey, I'm having an off night against St. Mary's, we might lose, So I think for the growth of my game, like, that was one step where I felt like Gonzaga favored my case at that point in time a little better.
That's so insightful. And I 100% agree with that, is the fact that I think a lot of the times for players, a missing link is having the pressure on your shoulders to kind of perform night in and night out to have your team win. What was it about Gonzaga and your redshirt year when you decided to transfer that helped you take that mentality, run with it, improve in it in that, and be ready to go when you could finally play again?
Yeah, for me, when I was at Kentucky, I was more so a 3-point specialist. You watch all the film, and I'm coming in 6 man off the bench, and I'm shooting threes, just all threes. Not a lot of posting up. And when I transferred to Gonzaga, I kind of got to get back to my roots of kind of how I played more in high school, where I played a lot of inside out. So I think that's when I watched Olynyk do the whole redshirt program. Yeah, he got stronger and bigger and stuff. There's a lot of it is confidence, and that whole year off, you're able to kind of make yourself uncomfortable, do things like Gonzaga is a high level program. I went there and I struggled that redshirt year because I'm having to post up against Karnowski. I'm having to post up against these bodies I've never seen before. So for me, like that was my biggest growth my redshirt year, is being able to work on the inside out, because as a shooter, it opens your game up more if you're able to do more than just be a one-trick pony.
How about the influence of the secondary staff at Gonzaga? And I hate calling them secondary staff because obviously Coach Few is a Hall of Famer, but B Mike is an unbelievably talented coach. When he's ready, he's going to run with a program kind of like what Tommy Lloyd's doing at Arizona. How big of a support were those guys to you in expanding your game that redshirt year, but also the 2 years you played?
Oh man, those guys are invaluable. I mean, just having guys that just genuinely care about you off the court, but also they're in the gym with us late at night. B Mike, like you said, he's going to be a head coach someday. Whether it's at Gonzaga or another program, like that guy, he's got an incredible basketball mind, but it's more than that. He's the one that's put in the time. The guys like Tommy, even guys like Ricardo Foy, like now at Arizona, those guys are what makes that program so great. It's a family, and for me, it was invaluable working on my game when no one's watching, getting in those reps. Sometimes it's boring being in the gym shooting 1,000 shots, but for me, having guys that cared about you enough to help you work on those things was huge.
Outside of Gonzaga's basketball staff or your current agent, who's the guy that you look to for being a good sounding board as far as improving your game? Because a lot of times once you get to that pro level, you have to think outside the box to really expand your game and get better.
For sure. I've just stayed true to, my inner circle, and, I've had 2 trainers my whole life, Jason Fawcett and Jeremy Nesbitt here at Clutch Players. So they've been kind of my soundboard, not just my game, but also, mentally too, because the game takes a toll on you mentally. There's ups, there's downs, and it's just staying level headed through that has been key. And just having 2 guys where I can come train with in the off season and also bounce ideas off of has been huge.
So give me your favorite college basketball experience, whether it's Kentucky or Gonzaga, and then give me your most disappointing basketball experience, either Kentucky or Gonzaga.
Yeah, I mean, they're both revolve around, as Zag fans know, is the NCAA tournament. It's either heartbreak, and most of the time it is heartbreak. And that's the thing, because that tournament, I think, my best memory was without a doubt when I was with Kentucky winning the national championship. Even if you play 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the game and on that team, which I was playing around 10 minutes, it's all the countless hours you put in, the study halls, everything, the culmination of a whole year of all that work. Listen to Calipari yell at you, all those moments like made it worth the sacrifice you make, and so winning the championship is the number one goal in college. And that was the best memory I've ever had. And I think that's the kind of goes down to the lowest point, in my career, is just losing in the NCAA tournament, twice. Basically I had 2 years to do it with Gonzaga, but when we lost to Duke, in that Elite Eight, and then we lost to Syracuse, where we were kind of the underdogs at that point, losing, and you feel like you not only, let yourself down, but you let down the Zag Nation fan base, because they're so close. I know they're gonna win a national championship at some point, but it doesn't make those hard moments any easier.
Yeah. I at my senior year when we lost in the NCAA tournament as probably the lowest point of my basketball career. I don't think I've gone back and watched that game since.
Mm-mm.
Have you gone back and watched that Duke game or the Syracuse game?
No, sir. And unfortunately, or fortunately and unfortunately, I had a fellow Duke player live in my house, and he reminded me he left the Duke picture in the house when he left. So thank you, Justice Winslow, for leaving that in my house.
Yeah, absolutely. If Gonzaga were to win a national title, which I think is just around the corner, you alluded to it, what is the sense of pride going to be for you, having played one of the foundational pieces of continuing to build that program to where it is?
Oh, I'd be extremely proud. I mean, I was there at the Final Four when they made it, just recently. I was really lucky to be there, and I thought that was the year. But I think that's a huge point you make, is like guys like you and guys like Morris and all these players who have been to Gonzaga. It's that family who continue to go back, because every time I'm back, people are there. I think those pieces are an important part of the whole story, and it's just I think that's what Few has been so great, and why he's a Hall of Famer, is just continued success. And when I'll just change your verbiage, when they win the championship, it'll be a great moment for all the current and recent Zag players.
So Coach Few, for all of us former players, kind of has this kind of sarcastic streak to him. Do you have any memories or quick stories you can share about Coach Few where you just had to walk away from a conversation and just shake your head and be like, that's Coach Few?
Man, I can't think of one in particular. But like you said, Coach Few is a funny guy, because I could go 2 years without speaking to him, and the first thing he's going to do is he'll walk up to me, and I think the first thing he'll say is, "Oh, Wilt, you got some tattoos on your arm. Like, what's that about?" So he's one of those guys. He's got no filter, and that's the joy of having that relationship. Is like, time is flying by. I feel like I was just at Gonzaga, and I've been meaning to get up there, but I think, just having guys like him and B Mike, who I saw actually in the Portland area a week ago, it's just really cool to see that family atmosphere.
NIL is a different beast now for college athletes. I know you would have made a killing at Kentucky, but also at Gonzaga. Years ago, you went to one of my barbershops in Spokane with Rem Backamus. You guys put a social media post out there. We both got phone calls from compliance saying to take it down. If you were at Gonzaga now, what would your go-to business be for an NIL opportunity be?
Oh man, I think a huge part of the NIL is just because there's so many brands out there. And I think that's where, if I was actually speaking with a company who was trying to get me on board with them, which I'm still playing, so I can't really do that now. But essentially, these companies are coming in now, kind of like agents, and are kind of trying to organize these players, because I think with the amount of brands out there, it's kind of overwhelming for players. So to answer your question, if I was getting an ideal, it's more so like, what do I want my brand to be like? What when you see Kyle Wiltjer, like, what's he affiliated with? So I think it's becoming a little cloudy right now, just because it's like a lot very fast for these players. But at the end of the day, money talks. So if you're throwing me $1 million to put, aka James Harden had a deal where if he wore the black Kinesio tape on his right arm, they'd pay him $1 million. Because I asked him, I said, well, what's going on with your shoulder? Are you hurt? Because you've been wearing the tape all year. Like, what's going on? Gonna heal? He's like, oh no, they just give me $1 million to wear this. So I think that's the deal. That's the deal I'd want.
Oh man, I need some. My shoulder's bothering me too. I mean, like, let's go, right?
Maybe you can wear some tape on your podcast and get a check for it.
I guess so. Or maybe when Heister and Fox and I call the regional games at Gonzaga, we'll come up with something unique. But I guarantee it won't be $1 million. It'd be more like $10 in Spokane.
Yeah,
hey, we're not like
$10 is a haircut. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, last question. You played in an era where Gonzaga was just about to break through to make their first Final Four. So you kind of have a nice perspective of the early years that kind of struggled, breakthrough years, and now you're watching the teams get into the Final Four. If there was one player you would love to have had added to your team to get to a Final Four, who would that guy have been, and why would he been the difference maker?
That's a good question. I think so if you look at our team that lost to Duke, we were just right there. I think that was the key point, is like we were just on the verge of getting there. I think if we could have added one player, one guy I really respected a lot. I mean, he's a friend of mine, is Justice Winslow. He's just kind of like a guy that's just a jack of all trades that you don't need any offense.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. Hey, Kyle, I know you're in the midst of figuring out your next steps professionally, but we appreciate the time. This is the time of year where if you don't have a deal, you're finalizing a deal. So best of luck with wherever you sign, because I'm sure whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, whether it's a training camp deal, they're going to be lucky to have you. So thanks for joining.